So, coloring. Programs like Clip Studio Paint makes it pretty easy compared to coloring by hand, but if you find even digital coloring to be a slow, unfun process and you just want to make it easier, this is a video for you. Okay, so you've got your line art. Now for the main tool that's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting, the fill tool. Now let's try to set things up to make things easier. Make sure your coloring layers are raster layers, first off. Fill bucket won't work on vector. There's lots of ways to use old fill bucket, and having all these options is largely why CSP is good for coloring. But a lot of options is a lot of options. I'll try to simplify things though. Subtool and tool property. These determine how the coloring tools are going to work. In tool property reference setting, there will be two options in particular. Select all layers and reference layer. Select all layers means the fill tool will use all your layers as a guide to know where to fill. Reference layer will use just one layer, which you have to select in the layer menu. It's the little lighthouse icon. That'll be its one and only guide for coloring. I use both these settings for coloring different things at different stages. Both are useful. In Subtool Fill, check Refer Other Layers. Basically it's the same thing but for the fill settings. And then anti-aliasing. You'll want that checked. Close Gap is a feature that gives you some slack with your line art, and that it allows your line art to not always have to be a connected, fillable shape to avoid the color spilling out from the gaps. Check this and the fill tool will take the gaps into consideration, depending on how high or low you have the settings. It doesn't get it right all the time. You'll still have to do corrections by hand, but it's a feature that's still better to have than not have. Also, I didn't know this until more recently, but you can use the fill tool by pressing and dragging your pen instead of pinpointing every little part you want to color, which is just nice. I appreciate it. Sometimes it's the little things, you know? Okay, so we're filling in those lines. Nice. But you might notice there are uncolored leftover bits hanging around, or grayish unfilled borders around your lines. This means that not all areas were filled, because Fill Bucket is good but not perfect, and no tool can read your mind. To fix this, you can use tolerance and area scaling in tool property. These two are pretty similar. I'm not sure how they differentiate, to be completely honest. I'm guessing tolerance is just more precise, but they're there to let you control where you want the fill tools to stop coloring in your lines. It can stop at the edge of them, overlap with them a little, or a lot. If there are unfilled areas in your coloring, it's likely because one or both of these settings are turned off or are too low. Mess with them until you get something that works. I suggest a number that's just slightly overlapping with your lines, but not out of them, to make sure your areas are filled. And some random additional coloring tools and tips I thought I'd mention. Eyedropper. Basic but super useful. Not just for picking up any color, but as a quick eraser. If you use it on a transparent area, it'll pick that up and act as an eraser. If you have the eyedropper tool set as right-click, you can quickly click back and forth between drawing and erasing. You can also just select the checkered transparent box to erase whenever. Doing this, you can get an eraser version of any brush. Lasso Fill and Lasso Fill Erase. Good for making smooth, quick sweeps of shapes and erasing. I didn't realize how helpful these were until I really started using them, especially since they also apply to other shapes. If you set the tool property settings to fill and toggle the blending modes from normal to erase compare. I just make separate brushes for both. Autocorrect Magic Wand. For selecting specific areas. Pretty self-explanatory. Invert Selection. Select outside what you want to color, select Invert, and that'll flip the selection to now be what it excluded before. Use this for cleaner coloring that'll stay inside the lines. You might need to tweak the expand or shrink settings as need be. Select Color Gamut. Gamut? This thing. Helps you replace and edit specific colors throughout an image. Handy. Layer mask. Put a layer mask above one layer to change its color. Good for making colored line art. You can also select Lock Transparent Pixels option in the Layers menu to recolor it directly, though this only works for raster layers. Gradient tool. Make smooth, blendy, blurry stuff. It's nice. This all falls under like color correction, color editing tools, layer blending modes, tonal correction, hue, saturation, luminosity, brightness, contrast, color balance, gradient maps. There are even more options than these, but pretty much they let you edit your colors like mad. To have at 'em. Layer exclude settings. This is more a specific thing that I do, especially in coloring comics. In Tool Property, I set to exclude locked layers so it won't pick up the bottom locked white and gray layers when I color pick or use the fill bucket. Basically, it ignores them. Those white and gray layers at the bottom, what are they for? The white is mainly for having a white background to work on. I don't really like the checkered transparent background. Which, yeah, I could change those settings and preferences, but Also, it's a good way to double check for any unfilled, uncolored areas, or transparent areas that need white. And the gray background is dark enough to see many missed areas too. And I choose gray because it will often work fine as a filler for those small areas I miss. Not in all cases, but it's often neutral enough to just not be noticeable. Basically, these two are my color check layers. I admit it can take a while to set up CSP's tools and implement them into your workflow, but it's been worth doing for me. So hopefully you learned something in this video. Hopefully something in this video will help you color faster, easier, and cleaner. And that's about it for now. Subscribe if you want. Bye.